Yo, 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 what's up, LA Live Gang? This is your boy AC, and today's the day. Today's the day I've been waiting for about a week or so. Uh, this is edition number one of my special State of the Lakers series. As I mentioned to you guys before, we're going to have several Laker podcasters coming onto the stream to talk all things Lakers. We're going to try to do this before camp starts, and I am very happy, pleased, thankful to have my man, the As It Stands Lakers podcast, to be the first to kick off this series. What's up, my brother? How you doing?
I'm wonderful. It's an honor. I didn't know I was the first. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's always if you're not first, you're last, Ricky Bobby, right?
Right. Yeah, brother. I say, hey man, I got to kick it off. I got to kick it off with a banger. Man, you've been going real hard with the Lakers content. You've been having excellent content, man.
Appreciate it.
I'll share a little story about how I came across your channel. You know, I'm not sure exactly when you started it, but I came across your channel during the summer league, the summer league, and when the Kyrie stuff started to pop off, man, that's how I came across your channel. Your channel, a couple others, me and my buddy, Lakers Over Everything. Shout out to Lakers Over Everything.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen him in the comments of my videos.
Yeah. He's like, hey man, check out this guy in Vegas. He's dropping all the tea on the Lakers. He's got all the latest information on the Lakers. He's out in Vegas, man. Check it out, man. Then that's how I found you, man. But we're not gonna hold everybody. We're gonna go ahead and get this started, man. Let's just start with a quick intro, man. Tell me about, you have multiple channels, so I just say you got a network. So tell me a little bit about yourself. The Is It As It Stands network, and what inspired you to do a Lakers channel?
Yeah. So well, my name's Tyler. For those that don't know, I have said my name on the thing, but feel free to call me Tyler. It's easier. Okay. But yeah, I was born and raised in LA. Moved to Vegas about 10 years ago now, something like that. Just for change, stuff like that. So grew up Laker fan. Grew up diehard. I'm old enough to remember, the 90s, early 90s into the 90s and 2000s and so on.
Cool.
And did YouTube stuff like that. I have like another like community and stuff called Fate Decided. Did that. We were doing a thing and they were like, you should do a sports channel. We were just doing like a random live stream over there. And I was like, yeah, I technically have one as it stands. I just haven't really posted on it. Posted a video. That video just took off. Like it was like 2 months ago now, a little over, maybe 3 months ago now. Posted a video, got like 130,000 views and just kind of started taking off. And I was like, wow, okay, there's something here. So really got into it. Who doesn't love talking sports all day? I did it all day anyway. The only difference is didn't have a channel. So now I got that. And then Lakers on my team. Like I said, born and raised in LA. Talked a lot of Lakers talk. And I was like, it just made sense to transition to an independent Lakers channel just so I could focus on that. And then I have the As It Stands to, talk about everything. Football, you got football season coming up. Big football fan, stuff like that. So it was just an easy transition to go from that to the Lakers channel, juggle both, and yeah, here we are. And yeah,
cool. You know what? It's the crazy thing about this YouTube thing, man, is like the hardest thing to do is just to get started. Yeah. And then once you get started, once you start making videos, some people are just natural, bro. Some people are just natural. They have the gift of gab, or they know how to put things together. And I think that's kind of what happened with you, bro, because that's not an easy thing just to drop 1 or 2 videos and just have something hit right off the bat, man. Yeah. So, that just shows, man, you got talent, bro. You got talent.
It was a blessing. It absolutely was a blessing. It's always something, and something I've always said to people, just start. You never know. That one video turned into something great. Now, I'm in a blessed position to be able to connect with Laker fans, basketball fans, just sports fans in general to, talk about what we love, whether we agree, disagree. That's what it's all about, right? That's what sports are,
Cool.
Like, yeah. So.
Cool, man. So I got to ask you the question. You said, I didn't know you were from LA. So you say you're from LA. Are you a Lakers fan, or please don't tell me that you're a Clippers fan, bro. Please don't tell
Absolutely.
me you're a Clippers fan.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, I was born and raised. I mean, Kobe was my, Kobe was my Jordan. I grew up in that time, grew up in that era. I actually, when I was younger, got to him and Lisa Leslie. I don't think I've ever told this story, but him and Lisa Leslie, I got to when I was little. I was little. They were doing a practice session. We were on some like field trip, and got to like get on the court, shoot with Kobe and Lisa Leslie and stuff. When like I said, I was like maybe 6 or 7, something like that. So that was really cool. But yeah, I just grew up in LA. I even have an aunt. I always told her, like, she has a basketball of the 2004 Lakers, all signed with Karl Malone, Gary Payton, Shaq, Kobe. Like, it's the whole team. Like, I was like, I always want that. But no, diehard Laker fan, born and raised, bleed purple and gold. Absolutely.
Cool. We got a super chat already. Shout out to Lakers over everything. He says, salute, brother AC, and salute to your guests. Huge fan of As It Stands. Very excited for this edition of As It Stands. State of the Lakers. Let's go. Thanks. That's my main man, Lakers over everything. I actually went out to Vegas with him to the Summer League, to check out the Summer League or whatever, man. And after hearing your content, I'm like, bro, we gotta go to Vegas to see what's up with this Kyrie thing, man. We gotta see what's going on with this, man. So cool. Look, SM wants to know what Kobe jersey you got on there.
Classic 8 Kobe. Classic 8 Kobe.
Can't
Got the
go
throwback.
wrong with that.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with that, man. So let's jump right into this content, man. We got a few topics we want to cover. Before I forget, I put up in the community tab, guys. At the end of the podcast, we're going to have a giveaway. We're going to have a cash giveaway of $50. So, and it's going to be based off of a trivia question, of course. So the first person who contacts me at LA Sport, I'll put the email up there, or I'll say it again later, whatever. LASportsLive@gmail.com. You guys make sure you remember that, LASportsLive@gmail.com. We'll have a trivia question. First person to contact me wins the $50. But of course, you got to stay to the end because you don't know what the question is.
Exactly.
So cool. So let's get to it. So yeah, man. I grew up in LA, actually in Inglewood, not too far from the Forum, bro. So there's no way I'm going to be anything but a Lakers fan, Dodgers fan, USC football, strictly everything in LA, man. That's just what it is over here, man. And I'm a proud Lakers fan. I would say my two favorite Lakers are Magic and Shaq. I kind of grew up with Kobe too, but I actually go back all the way to the 80s.
Yeah.
But like you, I saw Kobe's whole career, so I kind of feel like I grew up with him. But I started as a kid watching in the 80s, and so back then my favorite Laker was Magic. And then when Shaq came in, you can't beat Shaq Diesel, bro. He's just, we've had a bunch of great players. We have a bunch of great talents, but we've had a handful of great charismatic guys. And that's what I liked about Magic and Shaq. They always had, always something going on, having fun, all that kind of stuff. So that's why Shaq and Magic are my two favorite Lakers. Okay, let's jump into it, bro. So Lakers coming off one of the most forgettable seasons in history. I think Trevor Lane said that he thinks this is the worst Lakers season in history. I don't know if it was that bad, but it was pretty bad. It was probably the worst one in recent years. The Lakers had a very, very bad season, man. They were embarrassed on national network TV many a times by many different teams, and we owe those teams some payback. So going into the offseason, there was a lot of uncertainty amongst Laker fans, amongst Laker Nation, as far as what direction the team was going to go in. Give me your thoughts on that, and also, man, give me your thoughts on the front office and management and ownership as far as their direction. What direction they decide to take the team in. Just give me your thoughts on all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I understand people's like thoughts of like this was the most disappointing or worst season in Lakers history on the grounds of like expectation and names as opposed to like the team. Like when we were terrible, and I had Smush Parker and stuff like nobody expected us to be anything. But like when you see,
Right.
LeBron, Davis, Westbrook, Melo, Dwight Howard, Kent Bazemore, all these guys, like you see these guys, you think like, oh, this team is at least a lock for the playoffs. So I do
Right.
understand that in that regard. But like as far as like the state of like the Lakers currently, like the thing is that like people from what I've seen, people need to understand that like this isn't the same team. This is an entirely new team. So we don't know how good or bad, for that matter, this team's going to be. We got younger. We got better defensively. We don't have like the best 3-point percentage players, but these guys have never played with a LeBron James. These guys have never played with an Anthony Davis. They're going to get looks like they've never gotten in their careers because they have guys now that actually draw the attention. Like
Right.
as like a Walker, he was basically the second guy on the Spurs. It's a big difference when you're going from being number 2 to number like 5.
Right.
You're going to get a lot more looks. So that's something we need to keep in mind. You got Darvin Ham. He's going to be implementing new offense schemes, new defensive schemes. He's going to be, getting these guys in position. We're running the 4-out, 1-in offense. That's going to be huge. Frank Vogel, however you feel about Frank Vogel, whether he was great or good, he was a disaster last year. It showed how bad we needed Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd was the player coach. He was the guy that people respected. He was the guy that had the systems in place. And it showed. It showed when Frank Vogel or when Kidd left and we got Frank Vogel. The matchup. I mean, how many times do we see Westbrook, LeBron, and Rondo in the court for extended periods of time? That shouldn't even be a thought. Or THT, LeBron and Westbrook. Like, that shouldn't have been a thought. And just the fact that like he went away from like things that worked. Like the first 2 games, I believe off the top of my head, it was something like the pick and roll with Westbrook and LeBron or Westbrook and Davis had like an 89% score rate. They scored, they ran it, I believe it was like 9 times, and they scored in like 7 or 8 of those 9 possessions. And then they just didn't do it for 4 months, and then just it was a mess across the board. But Darvin Ham's the guy that, players want to run through a wall for. He's the guy that's going to be the voice. He's the player coach, but he's also, no nonsense, no BS type guy. And you need that. You need that structure. So I think as far as this team goes, we don't know. This team could be great. You got a lot of young guys that have something to prove, that want to, be in the limelight, and want to turn this franchise around. You can't rule out, I say it all the time, LeBron James and Anthony Davis, they're healthy and playing at a high level. You can't count them out. They're still arguably, if not the best duo in the entire league. So how could you say like this team's not going to be successful? Now, are they a contender? If I'm being honest, I don't think so, but who knows? Again, great example, Clippers last year, Clippers are Clippers, but nobody thought that they were going to be as good as they were last year because Paul George and Kawhi Leonard went down. But that team's chemistry, that team's, the players, the depth, stuff like that, they were able to overachieve because of that. And everyone was like, oh, you add in Paul George and Kawhi Leonard to this, you might have some magic. They never ended up happening, and so they didn't make the playoffs. But you could get the same thing from the Lakers. Everybody likes each other. You get that chemistry. You got the depth. You got, if we could pull off a trade or so, even if we don't, I think the Lakers are going to be a good spot. And then even Westbrook, it's like, he can't be much worse than he was last year. But I think Darvin Ham will also be able to make him more effective, more efficient. Like if he could average 18, 7, and 7 like last year, but efficiently, then how can you not say that that's not a legit big 3 with Anthony Davis, LeBron, and Westbrook? It's just Westbrook. The whole point of them getting Westbrook was for when LeBron's not in the game or LeBron is, sitting at home, taking a night off. Westbrook can lead the charge. They never did that.
Right.
Frank Vogel never did that. He should have scattered his minutes. If Westbrook was great, you let him close out the game. If not, you sit him. And that's what Darvin Ham basically said. Like, look, if Westbrook's balling out, he can close out the game because why wouldn't we have him close out? But if he's playing and turning the ball over and being a mess, then no, he can sit on the bench, and that's kind of what this is. We don't know. There's a big question mark with the Lakers. And none of us can say whether they're going to be good or bad because we don't know.
Right.
We got a lot of really good young talent that are going to be in a position to actually display that talent and have guys in LeBron and Anthony Davis that are going to draw all the attention. They're going to get great looks. And if we could be, top 5 to 10 in defense, we didn't have a problem scoring last year.
Right.
We scored fine. It was defense.
Just couldn't stop anybody.
Yeah, exactly. We'd score 115, but we'd give up 130.
Right.
It's like, so I do. I think the Lakers are in a good spot. Would I like to see a trade or two? Absolutely. But,
Yeah.
I think even if we have to run with who we got, I think the Lakers are in a really good spot.
Yeah, it was, like I said, last season was terrible. I did a video, man, and it was a special message to Jeannie Buss. I was like, because, the Lakers, everybody likes to talk about the Lakers, bro. I mean, ESPN, if you didn't know any better, you would think the Lakers were the official team for ESPN because that's all they want to do is talk about the Lakers, bro. I'm like, bro, there's like 29 other teams to talk about. But I think coming into this offseason, I think Jeannie just sat down with the brain trust, of the Lakers, Palika, and all the other, her little round table, whatever.
Yeah.
And just kind of sat down and really thought about how they want to approach this. I believe it was back in May when the season was over. She called the LA Times and wanted to talk. And so she did that national interview, and that's what kind of kicked things off. You remember when she did the interview and she said, hey, I'm not happy about how things are going. There's going to be changes. She didn't say trades, but she said changes. They fired Vogel. The thing about Vogel is, I think what happened with Vogel is he got exposed as being basically a one-dimensional coach, which is defense. Because even when they were winning, we all were kind of sitting back, be like, yeah, they're winning, bro, but that offense kind of, has a lot to be desired. It wasn't very imaginative and just very basic rudimentary offense. But when we go into this season, he gets a brand new team. It's primarily veterans on the team. He lost KCP. He lost Alex Caruso. Those are guys that made him look good because of their defense out on the wing. And so when you replace them with a bunch of inexperienced guys, a bunch of old guys, and then all the injuries happened. The injuries, it was kind of like a doom season to begin with, bro, because the injuries started right in training camp. It started right in training camp, right in preseason. We had THT go down. THT had to have surgery. Wayne Ellington was down for a while. I can't even remember.
Kendrick Nunn. Kendrick Nunn got hurt in preseason.
Kendrick Nunn. All that stuff. So it was like Vogel lost all the guys that made him look good. And then the guys that he thought were going to come in and take those people place, they got hurt. It just wasn't going to work, man. I'm not defending Vogel because having to line up with Rondo and Rondo was with the team at the beginning of the season, right? Yep. Rondo, and then he had Westbrook in there. I'm like, bro, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing? And then DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah.
Vogel went through a spell where he just refused, I guess he didn't like the centers. Then he just went through a spell where he refused to play centers, and we had LeBron playing center. It was just crazy, bro. It was just crazy, and I don't know if he deserved to be fired, but it is what it is. It's not about what you've done in the past, it's about what you've done for me lately. So the Lakers decided to move on, and I think that was the best thing they did. Take care of Vogel, and what I felt is they needed a firm leader. LeBron's a leader of the team, but they needed a leader in the locker room, and I think that's what they have with Darvin Ham. Now he's unproven as a head coach, but he's a well-respected assistant for many years. But I think we saw it in his press conference, right? His command, he just kind of captivated the room. All the reporters are there. They knew him from when he was there before. And I just felt, I was like, man, I just felt right there when I saw his introductory press conference that the culture, everything's going to change. It doesn't mean that they're going to win. I don't know. Like you said, we don't know. It's a brand new
Yeah.
team. This is like since LeBron's been here, this is like the third team.
Yeah, literally every year.
3 brand new teams. So we don't know. But I think even if we don't do any trades right now, this team is going to be better than last year because I just think that at least they'll have an identity. And I think what they're going to try to do is establish themselves as a defensive team, kind of like what they had in 2020. So, but like you said, the bottom line is nobody can predict this stuff. We don't really know what's going to happen. I just keep my fingers crossed.
I mean, I hope so. I mean, I hope that they're good. And like the thing is too is like even like with the front office and stuff, like, you know, like look, as much as people bash on Westbrook, like you gotta remember LeBron and Davis wanted Westbrook.
Right.
You had Rob Pelinka. He had a trade for Buddy Hield. DeMar DeRozan himself said, I thought I was going to the Lakers. Like Pelinka was trying to work it out. But when your 2 best players, superstars come to you, especially when LeBron could walk if you don't do what he wants, there's not a GM in the league that would have told Anthony Davis and LeBron James no in that situation. I know people like to say like,
Right.
oh, well, I would have done. No, you wouldn't have. You would not have told LeBron James, Anthony Davis, if they told you to go get West, you would have been fired on the spot. There's not a GM in the league. Nobody's told LeBron no because it's LeBron James when you get that opportunity to have a guy to his caliber. And so like that's something, and I feel a lot of people have recency bias with Rob Pelinka. He's done a great job. He put together a championship team, won a championship. The following year, upgraded every position and kept like the core guys. The entire league was praising him. Fans were praising him. He was voted, GM of the year or whatever. He was. The Lakers were voted most improved team in the entire league. They were up 2-1 against the Phoenix Suns, and the Suns had no answer for Anthony Davis. Looked like we're about to go up 3-1. And then Davis gets hurt, and the rest is history. Like, that's not Pelinka's fault. And then the following year, it's like, LeBron and Davis, this is the team that they wanted. Go get me Melo. Go get me Westbrook. Go get me this. So Rob Pelinka did that. And it happens. The problem is the GM's the scapegoat, because he's the GM, and he's supposed to, that's your job. But you have these superstars, if they come to you and tell you, like, this is what I need, then that's what you do. Like Cleveland did it. Miami did it. Everybody does it. When you get a guy like LeBron and they tell you this is what we want, that's what you do. And then like this season, Rob got every single player that was rumored that was a destination for the Lakers. Like Walker was a surprise, but he was a solid pickup. It's a solid young player that has something to prove. He could be our Malik Monk. Kendrick Nunn. I think people are sleeping on Kendrick Nunn. People forget Kendrick Nunn. Yeah, he didn't play last year, but the year prior, he was a 20-point per game starting point guard for the Miami Heat in the finals, playing solid defense, shooting 38% from 3, being able to slash. Like I've said, like I'm not saying that they are comparable skill-wise or player-wise, but a lot of the stuff that the Lakers want from Kyrie Irving and that fans want from Kyrie Irving, that's Kendrick Nunn. A guy that can shoot the 3, play on the ball, off the ball, can slash, create his own shot. Is he as gifted and talented as Kyrie? No. But he definitely could be our Kyrie light. If you remove Westbrook from the equation, Kendrick Nunn is our 3rd best player on this roster currently, unless somebody just comes out of the woodworks. So I do. Like people need to look at everything, the whole scope of things, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. And another thing that people kind of overlook is when Rob built that championship team in 2020, he did it on the fly, bro. Yeah. He did it on the fly because he finished the trade for AD. Then we're on Kawhi watch. Kawhi made us wait for almost a week. Meanwhile, while we're waiting, all the good free agents are signing. But what people don't give Rob credit for is he had people waiting. He had people waiting, to see what was going to happen. And once, Kawhi did whatever he wanted to do, we immediately got Danny Green. We got Boogie Cousins. The list goes on. And he was able to assemble a championship roster well after well after free agency started. So I think, like you say, they don't really give Pelinka his deserved credit, but it is what it is. When you work for the Lakers, you're always going to be critiqued. Now, you mentioned Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
Let's segue into our next topic. Kyrie Irving, man. Now, like I mentioned before, we went into this offseason. We didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know who we were going to get, whatever. Before the season ended, nobody thought that Kyrie Irving could possibly be a Lakers. And then one day I'm sitting on YouTube and me and my other buddy are like, summer league starts and we hear a guy named As It Stands Lakers say, the deal is done. Yeah. Or there's rumor. That is the rumor.
The rumor. Here in Vegas. Yeah.
That the deal is done, man. So let's go back and revisit that a little bit. That whole saga is over with. Everybody stayed in Brooklyn. In retrospect, I'm just kind of asking myself, man, look, was that even really a real thing, bro? Was it even really a real possibility? Do you think that was even a real possibility that Kyrie Irving was going to come to the Lakers?
That was a great. I mean, that's a great question because yes, I do, because I do think it was part of a leverage play, right? Because Kyrie wanted the money, he wanted the max, and it's like, okay, if you give me the max, I'll just go to the Lakers, And then you heard the talks of like, oh, Kyrie, well, he might go for the mid-level, the taxpayer mid-level. No, he wasn't. He was never going to give up $30 million to go do that. Would it have been awesome? Yeah, cool. Would it have been a Kyrie thing to do? Absolutely. Set aside $30 million, go play for the Lakers just to, as a big F you to the Nets.
Right.
But I do think Kyrie, like, if it's not Brooklyn, it's the Lakers. Like, it makes sense. LeBron James, everything like that. I don't doubt that was a conversation to be had. And when it comes to Kyrie, like, we saw the media, we saw everything. We heard all the reports from both sides, the Lakers side, the Nets side, that Kyrie's going to the Lakers. Here in Vegas, you hear the talks like, oh, like the deal has been negotiated on. Like, and then all of a sudden media starts talking about how, oh, Sean Marks and Rob Pelinka sat down and had a conversation in Summer League. So it's like, oh, that lines up. Vegas is saying, like, this is what happened. The odds in Vegas shot up like double.
Right.
Vegas isn't wrong very often.
We saw pictures of them together talking.
Yes, exactly. Like everything. You saw the pictures, saw this. Like everything was like Kyrie's going to the Lakers. That, they basically had a spit and a handshake deal. But they wanted to wait for Kevin Durant. And at that time, the Suns wanted to trade for him, and they were trying to work out the deal with the trade. And then Indiana calls their bluff. I don't know this for sure, but I think Indiana ruined a lot because when they called the bluff, because they got tired of waiting. So when they extended the contract to DeAndre Ayton, that completely took the Suns out of the conversation.
Right. Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And that happened shortly after. But they were never going to trade Kyrie Irving until the Kevin Durant situation was figured out. Thing is that as soon as that happened, then the well dried up. And then the Celtics came out and they were like, oh, which, will include Jaylen Brown. And then they were working on conversations, but Joe Tsai wanted to keep Kevin Durant. Soon as Kevin Durant said, okay, I'll stay, that was it. Like, that was the end of it. I really think that if Kevin Durant said, no, I told you, I want out, I'm done, then I really think they would have traded Kyrie because they weren't going to risk something happening and Kyrie just walks. The hope now is that Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and Ben Simmons could get their minds right, get together, and then, hopefully, because they are a legit championship team.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
On paper, they might be the best team in the league.
For sure.
Like, front to back. Like, it's insane. But will they all buy in together? What's going to happen? Because if one domino falls, that team's falling apart. Like, because you have three of the most, like, arguably mentally unstable people in the league.
Right. Right. And it's not like anybody involved in that situation, whether it's true or not, nobody's going to forget KD's demands.
Yeah.
The players on the team, they're not going to forget his demands, saying he wants to be traded, and they're definitely not going to forget his demands for, movement with the coach and the general manager. That's always going to be in the back of everybody. Everybody in that situation, that's going to be in the back of their minds, especially like you said. If anything goes wrong, they go on a bad losing streak or whatever, bro.
Oh,
The thing
everything's getting
it could
magnified.
fall apart.
Yeah, everything this season is going to get magnified tenfold. Like every team has that locker room moment where they're in each other's faces or whatever because they're competitive guys. Usually that doesn't even get mentioned. That for the Nets, boom, it's going to be headlines. Kevin Durant threatened to punch somebody in the face or whatever. Like every little thing. They go on a 5-game losing streak. Boom, that's going to get exploded. Like every single thing is just going to be put under a microscope. The conversations of Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, they get hurt again. What's going to happen? I mean, we could be at the trade deadline and this all could start again. We could be at the off season, could all start again. Like it's just the Nets are one bad day away from just crumbling. And that's the problem.
I think so because people got to keep in mind, Kyrie, yeah, he picked up his option, so he's going to be there for another year, but he's playing now. He's officially playing for a contract, so you don't really know what his mental makeup is going to be, and a lot of people praise KD. I think KD is a great player, but one thing I know that's going to happen this season, he's going to miss time because every season since the injury. After he's come back, he's always missed 10, 15 games, 18 games, or whatever. And so it's not a knock on KD. It's just it is what it is. He's getting older.
He's played 90 games in 3 years.
Right. So, like you said, one little thing could happen. Somebody could say one little thing in the media. Somebody might mention something about Steve Nash, and then next thing you know, bro, all hell.
Yeah.
Hell could break loose, man.
That's another good point too. Steve Nash, right? How is he going to control that locker room? He knows Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, your two most important players on that team, your leaders of that team, both want you fired. Both want you gone. Are they going to listen to Steve Nash? Is he going to be respected in that locker room? Your two leaders, like this is a team that wants to compete. And that's why I said the Nets, their best option was just cut their losses and move on. And I'm actually surprised Joe Tsai didn't. Being a billionaire businessman, you make bad investments, you cut your losses, you move on. They would have gotten great packages, great returns. Problem is now, if this becomes a disaster, and it might not, maybe there is a universe, it might be this universe, might be another one. There is a universe somewhere where the Brooklyn Nets win the championship this year and everything goes perfect and this, that, and the other. But the likelihood, based on what we've seen, is that this is going to be a disaster. And the problem is, if that happens, the Nets are screwed because the Lakers, you wanted draft picks? Oh, good luck. Because why would we give you picks? We don't have to give you anything. We're going to give you picks when Kyrie's just going to leave you and we can get him for free and it's halfway through the season. There goes that. Teams, if Kevin Durant wants out, you think teams are going to be giving up 7, 8 first round? No, they're going to be like, Kevin Durant wants out. No, we're not. This could be a just nuclear meltdown for the Brooklyn Nets if things go bad. And that's why I don't understand why they wanted to go through with this. If Kyrie walks next season, they're still over the cap. They have no space to go replace him. They're not going to get any assets. You think Kevin Durant is going to look around at this team and go, me and Ben Simmons and a bunch of these role guys are good enough to win a championship? No. If Kyrie you might as well have gotten – the Lakers would have given you both of their first-round picks. They would have given you whatever you wanted. Take your pick. Here you go. The only reason they didn't from the beginning was because of LeBron. They needed the commitment from LeBron. Because if you give up your picks and LeBron leaves, you're screwed. Because Kyrie probably leaves too, and now you're stuck with no assets. You're rebuilding. It would have been a disaster. So I get why Rob Pelinka didn't want to do that to begin with. But you got to the point where it was like, okay – they're willing to give up everything. LeBron's committed. And the Nets were like, nah, we'll just keep it because Kevin Durant wants to stay. For how long? Yeah. How long?
You said something very interesting, and it's something that not a lot of people talked about in this whole Kyrie situation. I'll say this, then we can move on.
Yeah.
You said, why would a billionaire businessman like Joe Tsai, why would he make the decision to stand pat? Why, if his player wants to move or whatever, why would he move in this direction to just try to mend things and keep everybody there? I think his first mind was to break everything up. I think that's really what his first mind was. But with him not being really a basketball guy, really being a business guy, you know what I think happened? Like I said, we never heard this, but what I think happened is those other owners started calling him, say, "Hey, bro, you can't trade KD because he has 3 or 4 years left on his contract. If you trade KD, so and so is going to want to do the same thing. So and so is going to want to do the same thing. You would set a terrible precedence." And then, I think it just that I think those kind of things, those kind of talks. Look, the players talk amongst themselves behind the scenes. I know the owners talk amongst themselves behind the scenes, and I'm pretty sure some of the more seasoned owners were calling him, whether it was solicited or not, giving him advice on how to handle this situation. And even if they thought that he was like dead set on trading KD, well, then they'll call the other owners and just say, "Hey, man, don't give him don't give him a good deal. Only offer him 2 picks or whatever." I think those are realistic conversations that probably were had amongst the other owners and Joe Tsai uh, concerning this whole Nets saga. Now,
Oh, I'm sure.
um, let's move on to our next topic. The Lakers made a big trade, man. Not the trade that we've been looking for, but the Lakers made a big trade uh, a week or so ago, or 2 weeks, or whatever it was. The Lakers acquired Pat Bev from the Utah Jazz, and everybody who follows this channel, man, look, y'all know how I felt about Pat Bev. Pat Bev is one of those players that when you play against him, man, you hate him. But now that he's a Laker, I had a nickname for him. I won't say. I won't say it no more. I won't say it no more.
I need to know what it is. What is it? You gotta say at least
I
once.
said I won't. You have to go on some of the old videos to
I
see
have
it,
to go
bro.
check it out. Yeah,
But
I have to go check it out.
but I said I wouldn't say it no more. But tell me, man, tell me what you think about the Lakers' acquisition of Pat Beverley.
Oh, I think it's great. You get a guy that's going to be a 3-and-D guard. Those guys have always been best next to LeBron. Think of George Hill, Mario Chalmers, guys like that. Can orchestrate the offense if need be, but can play off the ball. Patrick Bev shoots like 37, 38% for his career. He's that a-hole. Thing is, too, is every team needs that guy. Think of the Warriors with Draymond. Think of the Bulls with Dennis Rodman. That guy that'll go get the technical. The guy that'll hit somebody in the mouth for you if need be. The guy, he's annoying. He's a nuisance. But he also, as much as people like to say he's not a solid defender, he is. So we now have with Patrick Beverley and Anthony Davis, we have 2 of the 5 best statistical defenders as the nearest defender to the offensive player.
Right.
So number 1 is Giannis, number 2 is Pat Bev, and number 4 is Anthony Davis.
Wow.
So now we have 2 guys that not necessarily the guy that they're supposed to be guarding, but just say a switch, whatever. I'm on the closeout. I need to close. They have the best defensive rating in the league. Pat Bev is number 2. Anthony Davis is number 4. So that is huge. You get that locker room guy. You get that energy guy. As much as people made fun of Patrick Bev for like his emotional outbursts, like he won the finals and the play-in game and stuff like that, imagine that energy every single night for the Lakers. One of the biggest issues last year for the Lakers was commitment and energy. The team just, it looked like nobody wanted to be there. It looked like nobody had energy outside of like Russ. Russ was the only guy that played every game. The only game he didn't play were the ones the Lakers didn't let him play. And he still gave you 100%. Everyone else, it just seemed like nobody wanted to be. Even LeBron, as great as LeBron is, he shot more threes last year than he has, and I believe in his entire career or outside of 1 year. He just became a jump shooter instead of trying to get to the hoop and do LeBron things. He didn't have the impact that he's had in previous years of just taking control of the game, dictating it was just a mess as a whole. I think Patrick Beverley is going to be that staple guy for this Lakers team. He's going to be that guy that is in the locker room, that's picking players up, that's, getting in your face, telling you, you're effing up, you need to get your stuff together. Hey, we're counting on you. You need that guy. I love this acquisition. It doesn't mess up future cap space. He's a vet
Right.
in the locker room. I know people want young guys and all that stuff, but you need vets. Tell me a team that has won an NBA championship with nothing but guys under 30. Hasn't happened. There's always teams that have a nice mixture of, you know, youth and vets. When the Lakers won the championship, they had a nice mixture of youths and vets. Like that's what wins championships. Every team in history have all had vets and some interjection of youth. Last year it was just we were the oldest team in league history, if I'm not mistaken. So big difference.
Yeah.
But I love the Pat Bev acquisition.
Yeah, I mean, the team was just too old, and then last season, and then once things start going downhill, you would see them fight some games, and then once the other team would come back, you know, the Lakers a lot of times just look disinterested.
Yeah.
When you got a player like Pat Bev, man, you know, it's crazy. I don't even know if he really was thinking about coming to the Lakers, but once this offseason started and Utah was talking about doing what they're doing, it was almost like he was politicking to join the Lakers. I mean, all he did was answer questions, but he was asked, "Hey, would you like to play with the Lakers?" And he said, "Yeah, I will play with the Lakers." And he also mentioned that thing that you just said about I don't think there was anybody on the Lakers last year checking LeBron James.
Yeah.
You know, nobody told him stop shooting all those damn threes or or anything. Not even the coach. But I think Pat Bev, you know, he has just as big an ego as LeBron James, whether it's warranted or not. And you got to have people like that, man, that will even check and put your superstars in check. And the Lakers had that before with Rajon Rondo, with Jared Dudley. You know, those were vets that would, you know, they would check Anthony Davis and LeBron James and, you know, kind of tell them about themselves. And that was something that they were missing last season. So I think along with all the other stuff that you mentioned about his defense, his intensity, his work ethic, that's going to rub off, man. I think it's going to rub off, especially with all the younger role players that we acquired over the offseason. I think, and all those guys are, I mean, with the exception of Damian Jones, all those guys are playing for contracts too.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't the defense, why wouldn't the intensity and the hunger, why wouldn't it be infectious? Because the bottom line is all those guys, with the exception of about four or five people, are going to be playing for contracts, man. And they're going to be playing for a coach who he says is defense first.
Yeah.
So, you know, we don't, like you said, we said before, we don't know for sure if it's going to work, man. But I don't see why, at least in the beginning, at least this team, I know they'll give an effort. And that's something that we didn't see with last year's Laker team. Is the effort was very lackluster.
Well, real quick is Pat Bev even said, so there was an interview like the midway point last season, somewhere around there, where they asked him, you know, like what like if, you know, the Timberwolves, because he was on a, you know, contract, he wanted a new contract. He was, you know, he left the Clippers with the Wolves, all that stuff. And he was in an interview and he said, like, if I was to go anywhere after the Wolves, it'd be the Lakers. So this is something he's kind of spoken into existence, I guess, since, you know, last season. And he talked about, you know, and they brought up the Westbrook thing because Westbrook was on the team and stuff. And he was like, I would love to play with Westbrook. And he reiterated that in the offseason, you know, that like, you know, hey, if I'm going to be traded, I want to go to Lakers. You know, and we've saw him. I mean, he's posted tweets and everything. Like, you know, Russ is my guy. You know, Russ is, you know, LeBron is this.
Okay.
You know, whether that, I mean, of course,
Yeah,
you know, but hey, I mean, your teammates, that's what you want to hear. You don't want to hear,
right.
F that guy, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Look, if there's drama between Russ and Pat Bev, I honestly don't think it's Pat Bev. Because Pat Bev's that guy. Like, yeah, he an a-hole until I'm on your team. And then if I'm on your team, I don't, you know, I don't care if you, whatever. I don't care what you did. Like, I'm your guy. I'm going to war with you. You need people like that, you know?
Yeah. So, if we have to worry about one or the two, I think that you were pretty much saying it'd probably be Russ. I mean, I kind of worry about Russ holding on to some of that stuff because they have a quite extensive, long history of disliking each other.
The biggest injury Russ has ever had.
Right.
The most everything. The biggest injury he's ever had was from Patrick Beverley. So
wow. Um, so let's move on to our next topic.
Yeah.
I think well, you mentioned it earlier, and the Lakers have been pretty much saying this all off season that even prior to the Patrick Beverley trade, that they weren't done assembling this roster, that they were, they're looking for deals or whatever. Or this was Giddy said in her interview, we're not done. We're still looking to will and deal. We've heard so many different trade scenarios even before offseason started. They were already mentioning teams that were interested in maybe picking up uh, Russell Westbrook or more than likely his expiring contract or however they want to do it. So let's talk about the two trades or the two possible teams that we've probably heard the most trade rumors concerning, and that's let's talk about the Pacers first, bro, because you know a lot of people have been yelling and want to know what happened. Rob, we keep hearing about this Indiana Pacer trade, Buddy Hill, Miles Turner, for Russ and some picks. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. Why isn't he doing it? Why isn't he doing it? And then we finally get the report, was about a week ago, of what the actual demands were from the Indiana Pacers. And now everybody's kind of understanding why Lakers Pacers trade hasn't happened yet. Tell me, give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, the deal, what the Pacers wanted, which technically can't even happen, is they wanted both first round picks. They wanted THT, and they wanted the Lakers to take on Daniel Tice. Daniel Tice is on a 3-year deal. I think it's like 11 million a year, something like 12 million a year, something like that, off the top of my head. But anyway, 3 years, as well as Buddy Hield, as well as Miles Turner. And problem is, Lakers traded THT for Patrick Beverley, so you can't do that. So now it's like, what do they want? They're going to want 3 firsts, or sorry, 3 seconds on top of the first. Like the ask is too high. If they would be willing to drop down their price, I think a deal could get done. And maybe now that the Jazz and we're hearing the Knicks and the Spurs and all these teams are, interested in potentially trading. And there's even the reports that, some league execs said that the Lakers picks are the highest sought after asset right now, this, that, and the other.
Right.
That, maybe that will be enough for the Pacers to go, okay, let's drop our price. Because one, who's banging on the door for Miles Turner and Buddy Hield? And it's not that they're not great players. It's just that Miles Turner, one, wants $20 million plus a year. And as great as he is, injury history, he's only averaged 12 and 7, but he's, led the league in shot blocks, stuff like that. Buddy Hield, as great as people love Buddy Hield, I'm not as high on Buddy Hield. And look, I've loved Buddy Hield since he played in Oklahoma, but he is the player that he is. He's a guy that is very one-dimensional. He'll get you a bunch of threes, but that's it.
Right.
Like, he's a great 3-point shooter. Give me the guy that shoots, 35% and can stop somebody. He'll to shoot, 38%. That's fine. He'll probably get you 15 points, but if he's giving up 20, then who cares? You're a net negative now. All you're doing is hurting the team. So I just, unless the Pacers asking price drops, it makes no sense. I think it was kind of disrespectful. A lot of teams kind of view the Lakers as desperate. And, and I'm sure the Pacers will say, hey, man, it's a negotiation. We'll start here and then maybe we'll end here. But I don't see how they can justify 2 first-round picks, Russ and THT. Forget the bad contract. Yeah.
That's a total FU by the Pacers to the Lakers. Make the Lakers want to take that back. But I don't see how they figured they could get 2 first-round picks for that. It's not like Russ was trash. Like Russ did not have a successful, I guess you could say, that season with the Lakers, but he still had decent stats. He still damn near played every game, and he just proved the year prior that if he has a decent team around him, and even though he was in the Eastern Conference, he was able to lead that team to the playoffs. Yeah. So it's not like you're trading for trash. It's still the former MVP Russell Westbrook. So my point is, I just think that whole proposal by the Pacers, if it's true, if it's true,
Yeah.
that it was just totally disrespectful, and hopefully they'll come to their senses, and kind of come down on those demands, because actually that is kind of the trade I would prefer.
Yeah.
Before we talk about the Jazz, I would kind of prefer the Pacers trade, and I'm kind of simply because I'm intrigued with this idea of Miles Turner, Anthony Davis, and with head coach Darvin Ham already saying that he's going to have a defense first mindset. I'm just like, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's some kind of fantasy or wishful thinking, but I'm just thinking that if we could put Anthony Davis next to Miles Turner, man, that hey,
Yeah.
number one defense again,
You'd have the
all
best defensive front court in the league.
for sure. So, and see, that's the thing, even we talk about the other teams or whatever, but Miles Turner, he's a role player, okay, whatever, but he's if he's not the best, he's one of the top 2 or 3 at what he does and what he does best,
Yeah.
and protecting the rim and shot blocking, and I just think him matched up with AD, man. I just think it would be a great thing, and all the other guys, and you throw Pat Bev in there. All the other guys just have to be a little bit average or a little bit better, and those guys that pick up the slack. So that's why I'm kind of intrigued with the Pacers deal. Hopefully, they'll come down on their demands. Um, Going into the offseason, we didn't know that for sure what was going to happen in Utah until after the Gobert trade. So now it pretty much seems like there's a fire sale going on. Well, it is a fire sale going on in Utah. So the other trade that's everybody's talking about is the Utah trade, and there have been several players mentioning that in that trade. Rumored Conley, Bogdanovich, JC, former Laker, Jordan Clarkson, um, Rudy Gay. And before we talk about that, man, I keep hearing this about this kid, Jared Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Jared Vanderbilt. Now, it seems like everybody who likes the Utah deal wants this kid Vanderbilt in it. Why is that?
It's just his skill set. So right off the bat, he's not gonna light it up from three. He's not a good 3-point shooter. He's not a great free throw shooter. But he's 6'9" with the wingspan. He's high energy, high hustle play, like lockdown defender type guy. But shooting can be learned. He doesn't have a bad shot. He can knock down. I mean, if you watched him play, he can knock down the three. He can knock down some mid-range shots, stuff like that. He's just not there yet. But he's a very young, very high energy, very he's a guy that you like. If you want to win a championship, he's like one of those key cogs that every team has. That size that he could play center if you're going small, play the power forward, play the three. Very versatile. And his age, he's 23, 24, something like that off the top of my head. But he's a guy that's just that high energy, could potentially be a real cog in this league. And why wouldn't the Lakers want somebody like that?
Right. So of the veterans that have been mentioned in a possible Pacers trade, which ones do you prefer? It seems like a lot of people are saying they don't really want Connolly for various reasons, maybe his age, maybe his contract. But which one of the Utah vets would you be interested in acquiring for the Lakers?
So if the deal happens, we're definitely getting Bogdanovich, and then very likely Beasley, because you got to salary stuff like that, especially because you got to remember the Jazz are hard capped now because of the sign and trade with Colin Sexton. So therefore salaries have to be matched, stuff like that. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, he would be a better winning Gabriel. I think he's better than Morris, but I get your point. I get what he's trying to relay. So yeah, I'm with you on that. But so probably getting Beasley, probably getting Bogdanovich. Now, when it comes between Clarkson and Conley, I know a lot of people really want Conley, really want Clarkson. Problem is, we have several Clarksons already. You have
Right,
Walker.
right.
You have Walker. You have a much better and efficient Conley and Kendrick Nunn if he's healthy. Better 3-point percentage, play on the ball, play off the ball. Jordan Clarkson, as much as, yes, he is a bucket getter, but the problem with Jordan Clarkson is he is super inefficient. He's like a 42, 43% shooter,
Right.
which by today's standards is not very good. He's like a 31%, 32% three-point shooter. The thing is he was able – Utah wanted him to just come in and just be a shot chunker. Go just be the sixth badge, just jack it up. So he had the green light. If you watch Clarkson play, he takes some of the worst shots I've ever seen in my life. Like because he has the green light to just chuck it up. But he's not a guy that you would want to give the green light to just chuck it up.
Right.
He's in a vacuum player. Problem is his fit with the Lakers is not very good. And Conley, as much as people don't like the idea of Conley is a vet, which is huge. And again, Lakers need vets. I know people want the youth, but you got to have some vets on that team. He's a vet, still a solid defender, like 39, 40% from three. So he can play on the ball, he can play off the ball. He still has a great defensive rating, still efficient. He can play, he can start, he can come off the bench. You get a lot more versatility with Mike Conley. He's a better shooter overall. He's a guy that doesn't make mistakes. You know, he's never been turnover prone. He's grit and grind. You know, if you remember the Grizzly days, like
right.
He would be a perfect complement. The problem is his age and his contract. Those are the biggest concerns. If the Lakers can work it out to where they don't have to give up both firsts, or if you can get Vanderbilt, I would take Conley immediately. The only reason I would kind of want Clarkson is because he's on a more reasonable contract and would be easier to move without picks. There's teams out there that would probably take him on just because, you know, he has $13 million on his deal. If he balls out, he's probably going to opt out to try to go get a bigger contract. If he doesn't, then he'll probably stay, and the team will probably take a flyer on him. Those mid-tier salaries are what's valuable.
Right.
You know, those 13 to 18 million salaries, those are the ones that teams like because, you know, I can unload a player. I can do this. I can do that.
Yeah.
Frees up cap space. So if we don't have to give up a pick, then I would love to take Conley because at that point, you're doing the Jazz a huge favor. You're moving off of his contract for 2 years. And the reason if we can keep a pick is because if we need to move off of Conley, then we have that pick. Because a team would take Conley at that point to get that first, because now you only have 1 more year on his deal. So you're good. So it just depends on the situation. But if we could get Vanderbilt or we could keep a pick, I would take Conley. And I think Conley would be a much better fit than Clarkson. So
yeah. Right. Vanderbilt, is he still like on his rookie deal?
Yeah, he's not making a ton.
Okay.
Cool. I think he's only making like $3 million this year, something like that.
Cool.
I could find out exactly for you.
Yeah. And we keep hearing, or I keep hearing the date September 6th. A lot of people seem to think something's going to happen on September 6th. But I'm not exactly sure why.
Yes. So what that is, so real quick, he's making 4.6 million this year.
Okay.
So he's making, so basically that. And he's 23 years old. So
wow.
So I said 23. I said 23, 24. So the reason a Jazz deal stuff like that hasn't happened, and I even made a video about it, diving into the 6th. I even have a video coming out later, kind of reiterating and diving more into that. But to relate that here is so when players get traded, it's why Patrick Beverley got traded separately. You see comments all the time where people are like, well, if they were going to do the Jazz deal, they would have done it with Patrick Beverley. You can't. Because because you got to remember, Vanderbilt, Beasley, and Patrick Beverley were all part of the Timberwolves trade. So they cannot be aggregated in a trade to fill in salaries. So, for example, to simplify it, is like the Westbrook has a $47 million contract, right? Now, you would either have to match salaries or do a trade through just cap. But if you want to trade let's say Bogdanovich and Conley, they can't meet the salary. Well,
Okay.
by rules, you can't. They wouldn't be able to include Beasley or Vanderbilt in a trade. Same thing with Patrick Beverley. So the reason Patrick Beverley was traded separately is
Oh, okay.
because he's not a salary filler. He was just a straight up trade.
Right.
Here we do this, we match salaries, we get Beverley. Now, the reason the 6th is the date is because you have to wait 2 months from the date of the first trade in order for those players to be traded. So
Okay.
that trade happened, what was it, July 6th? So July, August, September. September 6th would be the first official day that Vanderbilt and Beasley can be traded. It's probably the simplest way to explain it.
Okay. And yeah, I'm glad you cleared that for me. I wasn't quite sure. And now that you say that, unless something drastically changes with the Pacers and their demands, I would probably say I would venture to say now more than likely the Lakers are probably moving in the direction of Utah, maybe another deal with Utah because they traded THT already. So
Yeah.
and we
Well,
know the Pacers won him. So
yeah.
to me that was kind of like a big fu to the Pacers. Like, look, we're going
I
in a
think it
whole
was like a
other
sign,
direction.
like, hey, look, we
Yeah,
could like we have deals, we have trades. Well,
yeah,
and the thing is
exactly.
too is like a couple things people have to keep in mind. But besides the 6th, now here's the thing: the 6th isn't a deadline in the sense like a deal has to get done. Like it could
Right,
still be a couple weeks. It's just the 6th is the first day that they
right,
can do it, that it can become official. Now, like while we're on this live stream, we could get an announcement that the Lakers have worked out a deal, but it can't become official till the 6th. So that's something to keep in mind. But also, got to remember that the Jazz deal only was a possibility if Donovan Mitchell got traded. They
right,
weren't going to trade Bogdanovich and Beasley and Vanderbilt and Conley and all those guys because if you don't trade Donovan Mitchell, you want to at least keep the best competitive team around him as possible. They don't need Patrick Beverley, so that's why they were willing to do that trade independently because it didn't matter. It wasn't going to affect the team either way. But now that the Cavs ended up getting Donovan Mitchell, that is huge because now the Jazz are willing to have this fire sale, but they can't have the fire sale, especially with the Lakers. Now, if like yesterday or today, if like somebody got traded by the Jazz, then there's cause for concern.
right.
But we haven't, the fact that no news is good news. I'm sure people have heard that expression before. That's exactly what this is. No news is good news because, again, nothing can happen until tomorrow.
Right,
So,
right. Because we
yeah,
have heard other teams potentially being interested in maybe
Bogdanovich, Suns.
Bogdanovich or
Yeah,
maybe even Mike Conley or whatever. So,
yeah.
like, yeah, I follow what you're saying. No news is good news for the Lakers.
Yes, because
Right,
tomorrow is the day
right.
that everything, again, I just want so people understand, like that doesn't mean that a trade is going to happen tomorrow. That
Mhm.
doesn't mean that, I mean, it could technically, it could happen, I believe, at midnight or 9 p.m. our time because we're on the West Coast, we're Pacific time. So I
Right.
think it's not, if I'm not mistaken, it's 9 p.m. Pacific time technically today, but
Yes, yes.
they're probably not going to happen. Anything's probably going to happen today. But in the next day or two, don't be shocked if we start hearing like more and more news about the Lakers trade with the Jazz, this, that, and the other. So it's just something to keep in mind.
Perfect, 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 man. Well, hey, man, when I originally spoke to you, man, I said I didn't want to keep you no more than an hour. So I'm gonna hold on to that promise, man. Want to thank you for coming through, man. I want to thank you for bringing your crew. Everybody that came over from As It Stands Lakers podcast. Thank you. I see you guys in the chat. Salute to all my supporters, Lakers over everything. I saw Reg Dog in there. Lakers fan for life. Who else we got in there? A few other people. SM was up in there. So bad. Just a whole bunch of people, man. I appreciate you guys coming through. Man, I wasn't exactly sure uh, what the turnout would be, but I appreciate it. I know a lot of people showed up to see you, man, and I really appreciate you coming through. I'm
Thanks for
going
having me.
to have like I said, this is going to be an ongoing series. Current state of the Lakers. But I think right around, let's see, before camp starts, it's either before camp starts, like I said, either before camp starts or maybe I'll just wait till after the preseason. We're gonna have a round table. So then we'll bring, if you're interested, I'll extend the invite. If you're interested, man, I want all the Lakers podcasters to come in here, man, give our predictions
Let's do it.
and give our opinions, man, on the preseason, man, because we'll have a lot to talk about. Because certainly we're not going to have a preseason like we had last year, man. That was we didn't win one game in preseason. That was kind of ridiculous, man. That was never seen anything like that, man. But once again, man, I appreciate you, bro. Thank you for coming through, man. Thumbs up, man. Did a great job. I really appreciate it. Salute to everybody coming through to the stream. If you guys now already subscribe, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. It really helps the channel out. I really appreciate it. And if you're not subscribed to As It Stands Lakers podcast, make sure you go subscribe to my main man, Tyler. Tyler, once again, I appreciate it. And like I always say when I end my videos, salute to everybody. And I will wrap with y'all later. You guys have a good rest of your Labor Day. Peace out. Be safe. I'm out of here.